Could Arizona head coach Jedd Fisch be the guy for Texas A&M? I kind of like the idea.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, back talking about this coaching search after a little bit of talking about the Abilene Christian game. We reacted to the Abilene Christian game Saturday afternoon. So we're going to look at a few more names that I've seen float around for the head coaching job at Texas A&M. One of those is Jedd Fisch. Of the two names that we're going to discuss today, Jedd Fisch is the one that I like the most, and personally, of the Jeff Traylor and Mike Elkos of the world, I lean toward Jedd Fisch personally. And I'm going to lay my opinion why. And once again, as we have every day during this coaching search at Locked On Aggies, all y'all let me know in the comments if you're yay or nay on Jedd Fisch. Do you like the idea? Do you not like the idea? What do you think about, Fisch being the head coach for Texas A&M? So looking at his career, he's an offensive mind. He spent a ton of time in the NFL, whether as an offensive coordinator, various different positions. He was in the NFL for many, many years. He's had stints all over college football and then in the NFL. So I like to see that about him. The one thing that I would say is he hasn't done much in the SEC. Ironically, he's a Florida grad. And he was a grad assistant at Florida for a little bit. But besides from that one little stint, like in in 99, 2000, he's really not been a big SEC guy. So that raises the question, can he succeed at Texas A&M? Not being an SEC guy, not being around, having, really recruited in the South a ton. I still think the answer is yes. The reason I think the answer is yes is I think that the one thing you can do to kind of combat not being an SEC guy is have been in the NFL. Recruits love the coaches that have spent time in the NFL because I think it almost can give you it gives those players perspective. You can have that conversation in a recruiting pitch. Yeah, I was the OC here. With this, I coached with Pete Carroll. I was doing this and this. I'll talk to Pete. I think I like I like what I see in you. I like what I see in the tape. I think you're a good young man. You're a player who I could see moving on to the next level. Come play for me here, at Texas A&M if you were to take a job, and let's make this happen. I think that sells itself a little bit. I wish that he had more SEC experience on top of the NFL experience. I do wish that was the case. But I think that what he's done in his career will sell itself. And then what he's done at Arizona, this is what I like to see. What I like to see is constant improvement. Some people are so quick to say when you take over a job, you got to turn it around just like that. Now, I think that in the new world of college football, that is more possible than it really ever has been. But this is what I like about Jedd Fisch. Look at his number since he took over at Arizona. They started 1-11. They went to 5-7. And as we currently sit right now, they are 8-3 with only a game left against Arizona State. So I think they have a very high chance of finishing this season off 9-3 and making a serious big deal bowl game. And When I look at this, look at who he's beat this year. Like, you look at these numbers. The one loss on this schedule that to me looks bad was this Mississippi State loss. Now, I'll add the caveat. I think that if they played Mississippi State tomorrow, they'd beat them 157-4. Mississippi State, even with Will Rogers in the lineup, I think that those two teams hadn't really found their identities yet. And Arizona lost a game on the road in an SEC environment when there was a little more hype around that program. I'm making some excuses for Arizona, but I mean, truly, I think that was not that wasn't a real testament to Jedd Fisch as a coach and to that Arizona team. Then they beat UTEP, they beat Stanford, they lose to number 7 Washington at the time, 31-24 at home. So one possession loss there. Then you lose to USC on the road in the shootout, 41-43 in the triple overtime. You beat Washington State 44-6 on the road. You beat Oregon State at home by a field goal. You beat UCLA at a point in time where UCLA I thought was playing a little bit better football. I beat them by 17 points. You beat Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. And then this past Saturday, you beat a ranked Utah team 42-18. I mean, that is what I like to see. I like to see that Jedd Fisch has taken over this position. Was it pretty when he started? No, it was not going great. I mean, it was not going great for Arizona. He took this program to the next level to where they're winning football games over good teams. I mean, just think about these last few weeks. Win over ranked Utah, win over ranked UCLA, win over ranked Oregon State, win over ranked Washington State. I mean, that was just the last few weeks. This is what Jedd Fisch and the Arizona Wildcats have done recently. I think he'd be a good fit. I love the NFL experience. I love that he spent a good portion of his career coaching at the next level. I just think that relates well to these players. That's where they want to be. Coach Fisch has been there. He knows what it's like. He knows what you have to do to get there as a player. He has connections. I think all of that helps players. So I like that about Jedd Fisch. I just, of the names, and Jedd Fisch has been a name I think I've seen publications writing about it more. I've seen it taking off a little bit more than it kind of had in the beginning. And I think part of that has to do with, the names like the big time guys over there, like the Lannings and the DeBoers being kind of ruled out. I think that has helped a name like Jedd Fisch kind of gain a little bit of relevance in this conversation. But everything I've seen on him, I've listened to. I always, when looking at these coaching searches, I always listen to some, press conferences, see if I, like the coach. Do you like the philosophy? Do you like what he has to say? Everything about Jedd Fisch, I've personally been a fan of. So I think that he would be I think he'd be a good hire for the Aggies. I do. I think he's proven that he can take a program and turn it around. And we know the resources that Texas A&M has compared to Arizona. So I think Jedd Fisch would be a good hire for the Aggies. Let me know in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, let me know in the comments. Maybe, do you disagree? What I've seen, running the numbers, looking at different things on Jedd Fisch, I like what I've seen from him. If y'all disagree, let me know in the comments. And another thing, I've seen a lot of people, in the comments, if I'm talking about a coach, they'll say, "Oh no, I don't like that guy. I don't like that other guy." If you are saying I don't like the thought of Jedd Fisch, let me know who you do want to be the head coach. So yes, if you're commenting saying, I'm not really sure if I'm in on Jedd Fisch, let me know the guy you want the Aggies to hire so I can kind of get a feel for where everybody's at. I would really appreciate that in the YouTube comments. Next, we are going to talk about Lance Leipold and what he has done and why he's another name that I would be happy if the Aggies hired this guy. We'll talk about that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. First, we're going to talk about our friends over at listening.com. New sponsor, incredible product, great idea. Me being a year or so out of college now, looking at this product, I go, man, wish I had known about this because this is really helpful. College students, listen up. There's this incredible app called listening.com which can take any academic paper, PDF, or class material and turn it into an audiobook. It can read math equations, technical words, and complicated documents. It knows to skip all the citations, footnotes, and references and lets you jump straight to the chapter or section you want to listen to. It even has a one-click note-taking button where it automatically puts the last 10 seconds into a notepad so you don't have to type notes when you're listening. I think what I love about this product is the convenience of, like, if you're driving, if you're at the gym, and you're like, yeah, I got to get a chapter of this textbook done for class. I want to listen to this. I need to listen to this document for work. It's not just college students. Anybody can use this product. It can help you on the go. It can help you at the gym. It can help if you're, doing something, making dinner for your family, doing something with kids. This app can help you in any of those situations, and I absolutely love it. Best of all, if you use the link listening.com/lockedon, you'll be able to get your first 3 weeks for free. So go ahead and give it a try. Usually it's 2 weeks free, but you can get an extra free week when you go to listening.com/lockedoncollege. The next guy we are going to discuss this morning is Lance Leipold. I'm trying to give y'all my ranking for how I feel about coaches, how I feel about, kind of my ranking of my hot board. I like Lance Leipold, frankly, more than definitely a Jeff Traylor, definitely some other names. But I'll tell you what, I think I would take Lance Leipold over a Mike Elko. Same with Jedd Fisch. And we're going to get into this, but I just like what those two guys have done building a program. That to me is what this is about. Not to say Mike Elko hasn't, but I mean, they're having another rough season. I don't remember if I need to check to see if, I'll pull that up right now. But if Duke, I know they were down on Virginia last night. Were they able to, or Saturday night, were they able to come back and get that win? Let me see real quick. I mean, not like it's going to change my opinion on Mike Elko. I'm just kind of curious. No, they did lose that game, which makes Duke 6-5 on the season. And they got to play Pitt. It's like, we're not going to get more into Mike Elko, but I know he's had a banged up quarterback, but do you want to hire a 7-5 head coach at Duke? I just don't think so. But back to Lance Leipold. He was at Buffalo from 2015 to 21. He's been at Kansas ever since. He's been kind of a Big 12, Big 10 guy, offensive mind. I think that what I like about Lance Leipold, like I said, kind of same thing with Jedd Fisch, is what he's been able to do at Kansas. Kansas was, you could almost kind of say a laughingstock of college football. Kansas was like they have a football team? Yeah, they're pretty good at basketball. I didn't know they had a football team. That's kidding, but that's kind of what Kansas was for a while there. And Lance Leipold turned this around. Last year, Kansas was you could make the America's joke team about Kansas. It was just easy to root for those guys. Easy to root for Lance Leipold. They've had a pretty good season this year. We'll run through what they've done this year. But I've been impressed with him and what he's done at Kansas during his time. So let's run through this season. They start the year off with a win over Missouri State. Then they go and beat Illinois. Then they beat Nevada. Then they beat BYU. Then you get boat raced on the road against Texas. You beat Central Florida. You lose a close one to Oklahoma State on the road. You beat Oklahoma, a big win there. You beat Iowa State. You lose to Texas Tech. You lose to Kansas State. So the Jayhawks are going to play a 3-8 Cincinnati team to likely finish their season 8-4, and then play a bowl game for a shot at 9-4. So, my thoughts here: a couple big wins, a big win over Oklahoma, some notable wins there, but then the boat race loss to Texas you don't love. The loss to Texas Tech at home, don't love that either. But I look at this and I say, I just like what he's done. Like I said, Kansas was nothing before. Really. It was kind of a joke. So what Lance Leipold was able to do, turning this program around, has really stood out to me. And I think he's another name that needs to be discussed. I have one more thing I want to talk about here in segment 2. So we'll talk more about Lance Leipold. If his name continues to heat up potentially in this race, we'll discuss him more. But once again, let me know in the comments, do you like the thought of Lance Leipold being the next head coach at Texas A&M? And then do this for me, y'all. Those of you listening on YouTube, rank Jedd Fisch and Lance Leipold. How do y'all feel about them? Rank them 1 and 2. Which one do you like the best? And then also tell me, like, are you happy with one of those names being Texas A&M's next head coach? Is there someone else you want? Continue to let me know in the comments who you want. I really appreciate that. But the next thing I want to talk about is, what's the plan been for Texas A&M? What has the plan been? You know, Texas A&M, of course, reached out to Dan Campbell. We heard about that, which, you know, I love Dan Campbell. I mean, he's awesome. It's so easy to root for the Lions with him. But, you know, you look at what he's done, and you can kind of say to yourself, like, it'd be great to have him. But he's not going to, he loves what he's doing. He was never going to leave that. But this is what I was having this conversation with my dad. It was like, there's no way Dan Campbell was the plan, right? I talked about this a ton here at Locked On Aggies, but like, I've kind of discussed how I feel like for you to pay the buyout of Jimbo Fisher, there had to be a plan, a plan in place to who we want to go get. Now, I'm not saying they should have already hired somebody. I feel like that a few days after the LSU game was always a pretty fair, when they're going to bring in a coach. But, I just think the fact that we've heard they've interviewed with a Jeff Traylor, and it kind of makes me wonder. It's like, what's the plan here? Was the plan to go after a big name, and they reached out and didn't get a good report back, and now they're going for some smaller guys? What would frustrate me is if we found out that that Texas A&M wasn't well prepared for this coaching search. And I trust in Ross Bjork to make the right decision. I do. I really do trust in him to make the correct decision on this coaching search. But it would be extremely frustrating. I mean, extremely frustrating if they made the wrong hire. If you make the wrong hire, this program is going to be in a dark place for a very, very, very long time. You have to make the right hire right now. And I mean, I know that Jedd Fisch and Lance Leipold are guys who have proven themselves at the Power 5 level a little bit, but still not like a crazy ton of experience there, or experience like with Mike Elko. I mean, it's just, or like Jeff Traylor. These are the names that are floating around, and it's like, Mike Elko, Jeff Traylor. Those hires feel risky. I'd feel much better about Jedd Fisch and Lance Leipold if they were to make one of those two things happen. My confidence level would be higher, but I still lean toward, will it be one of those two guys I just listed that we've talked about today? I don't know. I really don't know, but it's just a weird spot where Texas A&M is right now, because if you make the wrong hire, this program is in trouble. I just hope that there's a plan in place. I hope that they didn't have like, okay, we're gonna fire Jimbo on Sunday, and here are the 5 names we're going to go after. These are the only options we're even going to consider. And then they called those 5 guys, and they're all like, no, thank you. And Texas A&M went, or Ross Bjork and company went, ooh, this isn't good. That would be what concerned me now. I mean, if that's what happened and they just got shot down by some big-time names, that can happen. So, it's interesting to me. It's very interesting. I think coaching searches are interesting as a whole. Who have you reached out to? Who have you not reached out to? Who should you reach out to? All that fun, stuff. But I just hope Texas A&M has a good plan of action, that the higher-ups in the athletic program have a plan, and they're able to make the right hire for Texas A&M, because you are not in a position where you can make the wrong hire. We are going to talk about, and I talked about this a little bit on the reaction show, but I wanted to just give it one more for those of you that missed the reaction show. I wanted to kind of reiterate this point one more time. We are going to talk about why the win over Abilene Christian was a big deal, even though it might not seem like it, and why it might help you retain some of your talented players. We'll discuss that coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. First, we're going to talk about our friends over at FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. I love FanDuel. It is the one I like to use when I am sports betting. I love the way the app works. It's easy to use. They always have good lines, good payouts. Everything about FanDuel is great. And like you said, this is the best time to go join. You're going to get some bonus bets if your money line bet hits, which it should be pretty easy to find a money line bet that's going to hit. I love FanDuel. Easy, fun app to use. Go check it out. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So, speaking on this win over Abilene Christian, and some might say, Andrew, it's Abilene Christian. Why should we care about this game? Maybe if we beat LSU, we should care. I think the reason you should care is look at, the box score from this game. What are some things that happened? Well, I'll tell you. You saw Jaden Platt get in the end zone. You saw Reuben Owens get in the end zone and have an 100-yard game. I think it was 108 yards. You saw Marcel Reed get in and make a play. These young guys, I talk about, you might go, well, think about it. We have Henderson and we have Reed and we have Connor Wigman. It's like, we don't need all those quarterbacks. We have learned this year that, yes, you do need all those quarterbacks. I don't know what it is about Texas A&M and losing quarterbacks to injury, but it's almost like going forward, we got to be 3 or 4 deep at the quarterback position of talented guys because everybody always gets hurt, it feels like. So, keeping a Marcel Reed around, keeping a Henderson around after he proved that dude can ball, which is what I talked about on our post-game reaction show yesterday, or on Saturday, excuse me. But then guys like Reuben Owens, all we've heard is that Reuben Owens is probably out of here. He's going to get going somewhere to a new school. He wasn't utilized well this year. He wasn't utilized a lot. He is a talented football player. I know like the yards per carry numbers weren't quite where many expected for him this season, but we know how explosive and how talented he is and how good of a college football and I think NFL career that Reuben Owens is going to have. So seeing him kind of rebound, have a good game where he's really the guy, it was good to see. And you have to hope that I kind of figure that Texas A&M will make the hire it's Monday, so the LSU game's in a few days. I would say a few days after that LSU game. So I think there's a chance we know who Texas A&M's next head coach is in 10 days. And, getting Reuben Owens more involved, getting Jaden Platt, a young, talented player, getting those guys involved might keep him happy, keep him around. It might at least give you an opportunity for these players to see who the next head coach is before they, decide to hit the portal and go somewhere else. I think this gives them an opportunity to see, well, let's at least see who the coach is and hear his speech and think about giving him a shot. Maybe he's my next head coach. So, and also I think it was just a big win for Elijah Robinson. It was a good win to send out these seniors. It was awesome to see the 12th man kickoff team. That was just stuff like that is why I love Texas A&M and why I love college football as a whole. That was just so cool to see a moment like that. The crowd goes wild. That was just incredible. And that's what's so great about the sport as a whole. But I just thought the vibes in Kyle Field on Saturday, I wasn't able to be there, but the vibes just seemed good. It seemed like people, I think so, and it's kind of like what I compared, getting rid of Coach Fisher and getting rid of Brian Harsin at Auburn the year before. That I kind of compared that to where, Coach Cadillac Williams took over as the interim. Elijah Robinson takes over as the interim at A&M. And, people love those guys. There was optimism. People were excited. It gives fans hope. And I think you saw that hope on the field on Saturday during the game for the players, in the stands with the fans. I just think that I have the feeling that Texas A&M is going to get this hire right, and Texas A&M football is going to be back. I've got this feeling about it that they're going to make the right hire, and this program's going to be in a good position again. So I think this win over Abilene Christian was a great way to send out the seniors. It was a good first, interim head coach win for Elijah Robinson. It was cool to see the kickoff team, as I said. The crowd, I was excited to see a good crowd on hand. And you're able to get the young guys involved that might help them, push them to stick around at Texas A&M even after you bring in your next head coach. So those are the reasons I think this win over Abilene Christian is a big deal. And that is going to do it for Monday's episode of Locked On Aggies. Tomorrow, we will talk about some more candidates for this head coaching job. And this week, we will, of course, continue to break down the LSU game. It'll be a fun one. It'll be a fun last regular season game before a bowl game. I'm excited for this ball game. Maybe the Aggies can go give the Tigers a run for their money in Baton Rouge. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and I'm looking forward to that. But that's going to do it. Like I said, thank you all for tuning in every single day. Let me know in the comments thoughts on Jedd Fisch, thoughts on Lance Leipold, on do you think those guys would fit in well and be good coaches at Texas A&M? Let me know in the comments. I appreciate you being here. Have a great rest of your day today, and we will see you tomorrow.